Randonautica, the app that turned adventure into fear. Randonautica is an app designed to generate random coordinates for users to explore, promoting spontaneous adventures based on their set intentions. Released in early 2020, the app gained massive popularity during the COVID-19 lockdowns as people sought new ways to entertain themselves. What started as a fun exploration tool, however, quickly took a dark turn. Users began reporting eerie discoveries, unexplained coincidences, and even encounters with crime scenes, turning Randonautica into an internet sensation for all the wrong reasons. One of the most infamous cases that brought attention to the app was the Seattle suitcase incident. A group of teenagers using Randonautica found a black suitcase washed up on a beach. When they unzipped it, they discovered human remains inside a garbage bag. The bodies were later identified as Jessica Lewis and Austin Wenner, a couple murdered by their landlord, Michael Dudley. The chilling nature of the discovery made headlines and raised questions about how an app could randomly lead users to such horrific scenes. Beyond this case, countless other Randonautica users have documented disturbing experiences. Some were led to abandoned buildings with strange symbols, while others found mysterious notes, children's drawings, or objects seemingly left for them to find. In one instance, a man was led to a forest where he found a note requesting a phone number. Days later, he received a text from an unknown number that revealed his home address, terrifying him into blocking the sender. Another user followed coordinates to an abandoned creek where they heard a child's voice whisper, "Play with me." When they returned later, more drawings had appeared, along with a Ouija board and a knife. While these stories seem terrifying, skeptics argue that Randonautica isn't supernatural. It simply encourages people to explore areas they would typically avoid, increasing the chance of unsettling encounters. Others believe that the power of suggestion plays a major role. When users set their intention to something eerie, they interpret ordinary findings as frightening. Despite the app's random nature, concerns remain. Users have accidentally trespassed on private property, wandered into dangerous neighborhoods, or found themselves in potentially life-threatening situations. Some worry that criminals or predators could use the app to lure unsuspecting victims to specific locations. Randonautica remains a controversial phenomenon, an app that has created both incredible adventures and terrifying experiences. Whether it's truly random or something more sinister is up for debate. One thing is certain, those using the app should always stay alert, avoid going alone, and never ignore their instincts when something feels off. The hidden dangers of Randonautica, a terrifying encounter. Randonautica, a mobile app that generates random locations for exploration, has led many users to unsettling and inexplicable experiences. One of the most disturbing encounters was reported by a man named David, who, along with a friend, decided to try the app out of curiosity. What started as a harmless adventure soon turned into an unnerving mystery. It was August 2020, and David and his friend had already tried several generated locations, most of which were either inaccessible or led to private properties. Their fourth attempt seemed more promising. It pointed them to a wooded area with a 470-meter radius. As they made their way down a narrow path, they stumbled upon something bizarre. A handwritten note pinned to a stick. The outside of the note instructed anyone who found it to write down their cell phone number. Upon unfolding it, the message became even more cryptic, suggesting that the person could provide either a phone number or email address if the finder left their own contact information. Curious yet unsettled, David decided to participate in whatever this strange message was. He wrote down his number and placed the note back on the stick, unaware of what would come next. Nearby, they discovered something even more disturbing: a collection of bras lined up on a fallen tree branch. It was an inexplicable sight, raising questions about who had placed them there and why. The fact that the bras were relatively clean and dry, despite the last rainfall being just 3 days earlier, suggested that they had been recently placed. The discoveries didn't end there. The duo also found 2 packs of condoms and a metal pot that appeared to have been used for a fire. The eerie feeling of being in the presence of something sinister grew stronger. Who had been here before them? And what exactly had taken place in this secluded area? The following day, David returned to the spot. To his shock, the note he had written on was gone. Whoever had placed it there had returned and collected it, meaning someone was actively monitoring the location. His unease turned into outright fear when a few days later, he received a text from an unknown number that simply said, "Hi." At first, he responded with, "Hi, who is this?" But what followed made his blood run cold. Instead of an introduction or an explanation, the sender replied with David's home address. Realizing that he had unknowingly given away his contact information to a complete stranger, one who now knew where he lived, he immediately blocked the number. To this day, David has no idea who was behind the note or what their intentions were. Was it part of a larger scheme, some kind of trap, or simply an elaborate prank? The unanswered questions surrounding the encounter make it all the more terrifying. Whatever the case, David learned a valuable lesson. When it comes to Randonautica, curiosity can quickly turn into fear. A mysterious trail leading to a disturbing discovery. One late night, Davy and her friends found themselves deep in a rabbit hole of creepy TikTok videos featuring people using Randonautica, an app that generates random coordinates for users to explore. Many of these videos showcased eerie findings, abandoned locations, and even potential crime scenes. Intrigued, Davy, Ash, Misa, and Beck decided to try it for themselves. Gathering in Davy's room, they set a radius of 18 to 19 miles from their location in rural Alabama. As the app worked its digital magic, they set their intention, a word users input to influence what they might find. Their choice? Spooky. Moments later, the app generated a location only 3 streets away from them. Excitement turned to unease as they realized the coordinates led to a long, dark road surrounded by thick trees. At around 1 a.m., they set off in Davy's car. As they drove, the road became narrower and eerily silent, devoid of streetlights or signs of life. When they finally arrived at the coordinates, the 4 friends saw a narrow trail leading into the woods. Something about it felt wrong. The atmosphere was heavy, the silence oppressive. Despite being inside the locked car, they couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. They debated whether to get out and explore, but ultimately decided against it. Instead, Davy pulled further down the road to turn around. As they passed the trail again, she caught something in her rearview mirror, a hooded figure standing at the entrance of the trail. Her heart dropped. Not wanting to alarm the others, she kept it to herself and sped off toward home. The next morning, still shaken but emboldened by daylight, Davy and Misa decided to return to the trail. Armed with a pocket knife and fully charged phones, they followed the narrow path, discovering that it led uphill, something they hadn't noticed in the dark. At the top, they found a clearing filled with discarded trash, old furniture, and scattered mattresses. The most unsettling part? The mattresses were fully made, blankets, pillows, and all. A wave of dread washed over them. Who had been sleeping here? Why was this makeshift campsite abandoned? Their instincts screamed at them to leave, but before they could, Misa stopped suddenly, pointing towards something in the brush, a red cooler sitting in a ditch. As they approached, a horrific stench filled the air. Using a stick, Davy nudged the cooler open slightly. Flies and maggots poured out. Then, beneath a layer of decomposing matter, she saw it, a thick wad of matted black hair. Terror seized them. Was there a body inside? Without hesitation, they sprinted back to the car and sped away. As they neared the trail's entrance, Davy saw something even more terrifying, the same hooded figure standing in the woods. After that day, they deleted Randonautica and vowed never to return. Whatever they had stumbled upon, it was never meant to be found. A sinister discovery in the woods. It all started with Taylor Vasquez, a curious TikTok user who had been seeing countless videos about Randonautica, an app known for sending people to bizarre and often unsettling locations. Intrigued, she decided to try it herself. Setting a radius close to her house, she followed the coordinates to what appeared to be an abandoned creek. At first, the area seemed normal, a typical quiet and forgotten part of town. But as she wandered deeper, she stumbled upon something strange, a series of disturbing drawings scattered on the ground. The drawings looked as if they had been created by a child, but their content was unsettling. One depicted a creepy, misshapen figure, while another simply read, "Play with me." Taylor was unnerved, but chalked it up to some kids playing a prank. She continued to look through the drawings until suddenly she heard it. A faint voice in the distance. "Play with me." Her breath caught in her throat. The voice was soft, almost innocent, but it was also completely out of place. She spun around, searching for any sign of who or what had spoken, but there was no one there. The video cut off abruptly, leaving viewers in suspense. Determined to find an explanation, Taylor returned to the creek a few days later. But when she arrived, she noticed something even more disturbing. There were new drawings that hadn't been there before. These weren't just creepy sketches anymore. Some included strange symbols, and one even depicted a sigil of Baphomet, a symbol often associated with dark rituals. As Taylor examined the papers, the same childlike voice echoed through the woods once more. "Play with me." Her stomach dropped. This time, she didn't hesitate. She turned and ran as fast as she could back to her car, her camera shaking as she tried to document her escape. Later, she uploaded another video analyzing a mysterious journal she had found at the creek. Flipping through the pages, she discovered disturbing messages, scribbled notes with cryptic phrases, and unsettling drawings. Some of the pages contained repeated sentences, almost as if someone had been obsessively writing the same message over and over. Determined to get to the bottom of things, Taylor returned one last time. What she found was more than enough to make her never go back again. Sitting on the ground was a makeshift Ouija board, hand-drawn on a piece of cardboard. Right next to it was a large knife, as if someone had been performing some kind of ritual. That was the final straw. Taylor left the creek for good, deleting Randonautica and swearing never to return. Though many viewers debated whether the whole thing was staged, there was one chilling detail that stood out, an image caught in the background of one of her videos. A pale face, barely visible, peering from behind a tree. Real or not, some mysteries are better left unsolved. A haunting discovery, the dark side of Randonautica. Curiosity has always been a powerful force. It's what drives people to seek the unknown, to push the boundaries of their experiences. For some, it leads to new adventures. For others, like Davy and her friends, it leads to something far more sinister. One late night, Davy and her 3 friends, Misa, Ash, and Beck, decided to try out Randonautica, an app that generates random coordinates based on the user's intentions. Inspired by a viral TikTok video of teens discovering a suitcase containing human remains, they set their intention as spooky, hoping to find something unsettling but harmless. What they encountered, however, was far beyond what they had imagined. The coordinates led them to Owl's Hollow Road, a long, desolate stretch surrounded by dense trees. The group's excitement quickly turned into apprehension as they approached a dark trail leading into the woods. Though hesitant, they eventually decided against exploring it, feeling an overwhelming sense of unease, as though unseen eyes were watching them. As Davy turned the car around to head home, she caught a glimpse of a hooded figure standing near the trail's entrance in her rearview mirror. Not wanting to panic her friends, she said nothing and pressed the gas, putting as much distance as possible between them and the eerie figure. The following morning, still shaken but emboldened by daylight, Davy and Misa decided to return to the trail. Armed with only a pocket knife and their phones, they followed the path uphill and found themselves in what looked like a makeshift dumping ground. Scattered trash, old tires, and broken furniture littered the area. But the most unsettling discovery was yet to come. Among the debris, they found multiple mattresses, neatly arranged with pillows and blankets as if someone had been using them to sleep. The realization sent chills down their spines. Someone, or perhaps multiple people, had been living in this secluded area. As they turned to leave, Misa stopped, pointing at something hidden in a small ditch, a red cooler. Its presence felt out of place, almost deliberately left behind. The two hesitated before approaching it. As Davy pried the lid open with a stick, a putrid wave of decay filled the air. Maggots and flies poured out, swarming the surrounding area. And then, beneath the filth, she saw it. A wad of wet, matted black hair. Panic overtook them. They bolted back down the trail, jumping into the car and speeding away. But their horror wasn't over yet. As they neared the exit, they saw the same hooded figure from the night before, standing ominously at the edge of the woods. Worse still, pieces of wood had been placed across the road, a crude trap. Without stopping, Davy plowed through, damaging her bumper but escaping unscathed. That was the last time she ever used Randonautica, a terrifying discovery at Alki Beach. Curiosity can lead to incredible experiences, but sometimes it takes people to places they were never meant to find. That's exactly what happened to a group of teenagers who decided to use the Randonautica app one fateful day. They had seen countless TikTok videos of others stumbling upon eerie and unexplained discoveries, so they figured, why not try it for themselves? Little did they know, their random adventure would lead them straight into the heart of a horrifying crime scene. After setting their intention and receiving coordinates, the teens arrived at Alki Beach in West Seattle. The area seemed normal enough, but as they followed their assigned path, they noticed something unusual washed up along the shore, a black suitcase. At first, it looked like any other piece of luggage that might have been discarded or lost at sea. Intrigued, they decided to take a closer look. As they approached, an overpowering stench filled the air. The smell was so unbearable that some of them gagged immediately. Still, their curiosity got the better of them, and they used sticks to cautiously nudge the suitcase open. Inside, they found a garbage bag filled with something heavy, something that didn't belong there. A sickening realization set in. This wasn't just an ordinary lost suitcase. Uncertain of what they had just stumbled upon, one of them decided to call the police. They explained the situation and waited for authorities to arrive. However, due to Seattle's notoriously slow response times, it took over 3 to 4 hours for officers to show up. In that time, the tide had begun to rise, and the suitcase was slowly being pulled back into the water. When law enforcement finally arrived, they had to send a scuba diving team to retrieve it from the depths. What the authorities found inside was far worse than anyone could have imagined: human remains. The bodies of Jessica Lewis, 35, and Austin Wenner, 27, were discovered stuffed into the suitcase. Investigations revealed that the victims had been murdered by their landlord, Michael Dudley, following a dispute over rent payments. Witnesses later reported hearing gunshots and a male voice pleading, "Please don't do this, just let me leave," 10 days before the suitcase was found. The discovery of the bodies shocked the local community and spread rapidly across social media. Though the TikTok videos of the incident were eventually taken down, they had already garnered massive attention, further adding to the eerie reputation of the Randonautica app. For those teens, what was meant to be a harmless adventure turned into a nightmare they would never forget. While their discovery ultimately helped authorities locate the victims, it was also a chilling reminder that some mysteries should never be uncovered.